Special products. So we looked at multiplying binomials in our previous lesson, and today I'm going to show you some strategies to make multiplying special products a little bit more efficient. So when I'm thinking about special products, I'm looking at where I have the same bracket being multiplied by itself, so a plus b squared, or if I have the same terms in the brackets, but the signs are different. So these are some special conditions that you can think about. If you're really good at mental math and memorizing formulas, this might be something that will really speak to you. You can always do the FOIL method that we learned in the previous lesson, but if you wanted to think about these ideas, you can do that as well. So there are two special binomial products whose expression can easily be determined just by recognizing the format of the question and looking at the terms in the product. So the first one we're going to take a look at is the a plus b squared. So suppose you have a product that looks like a plus b squared. So another way of writing this could be a plus b times a plus b. So in order for this to work, both a and b can either be a variable. So remember, a variable is another word for a letter, a number, or a constant, or a combination of the two. So, like I said, it could be a variable, which is like an x. It could be a number, like 2, or a combination of the two, like 2x. So a is the first term. So the first term in this binomial, 2x minus 3 squared, the a would be our 2x. So a squared is the same as 2x squared, or in this case, 2 to the power of 2 is 4, and then 4x squared. So we've applied that exponent to both terms inside of the bracket. So b is the second term in the binomial. So in this case, it's negative 3. So b squared is negative 3 squared, or 9. So we could expand and simplify the expression using FOIL. However, if you're really good at memorizing formulas, a faster method is by using the special product formula. So a plus b squared is the same as a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So if you're really good at mental math, it can be really fast to use this formula. So if I was to use our example of 2x squared minus 3 squared, I already know, so a squared is 4x squared, my b squared is positive 9, and then our a times b would be 2x times negative 3, which is negative 6x, and then times 2 would be negative 12x. So that's a quick little strategy to use. So let's do some examples. The more we do, the easier it's going to get. So what is the square of this binomial? Well, I have my x squared, then I have my 2 times my x times my 3, and then I have my 3 squared. So I'm squaring my first term, 2 times a times b, and then squaring my second term. So if I need to show this step, I can. If I can do it in my head, that's great. So then I have x squared plus, well, 2 times 3 is 6, so 6x, and then plus 9. So I can do it quickly like that, or I can use FOIL. So if I was going to use FOIL, it would look like this. X plus 3 times x plus 3. X times x is x squared. X times 3 is 3x. 3 times x is 3x. And 3 times 3 is 9. And simplifying those middle terms, x squared plus 6x plus 9. So you can see that you get the same answer regardless of what method you use. okay? So let's do a couple more examples. So I have my x squared. And then I have plus 2 times x times negative 4, and then plus my negative 4 squared. So I have x squared, and 2 times negative 4 is negative 8x. And negative 4 squared is positive 16. Or I can use FOIL. So x minus 4 times x minus 4. X times x is x squared. X times negative 4 is negative 4x. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x again. And negative 4 times negative 4 is plus 16. So again, it doesn't matter what method you use, you're still going to get the same answer. Let's go through two more examples. So 2x squared. So I'm going to have my 2x, I'm going to square that term, and then plus 2 times 2x times negative 1, and then plus negative 1 squared. So this becomes 2 squared is 4, so 4x squared. 2 times 2 is 4 times negative 1 is negative 4x. And negative 1 squared is plus 1. And again, you can use FOIL if that's an easier strategy. If you just want to remember one strategy, you can use FOIL. It doesn't matter to me which method you use as long as you are coming up with a method that works for you. So 2x minus 1 times 2x minus 1. So this is the same as 2x times 2x, which is 4x squared. 2x times negative 1, which is negative 2x. Negative 1 times negative 1 times 2x, which is negative 2x again. And negative 1 times negative 1, which is plus 1. So that is equal to 4x squared, and then negative 4x plus 1. And the last example that we're going to do for this method, for this special product, I have 3x plus 7 squared. So I'm going to take my 3x, I'm going to square that term, plus 2 times 3x times 7, and then plus my 7 squared. So 3 squared is 9, so 9x squared. 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 times 7 is 42, so 42x. And 7 squared is 49. And then we can also do this using FOIL. So I can write my bracket out twice. So 3 times 3 is 9, and x times x is x squared. 3 times 7 is positive 21x. 7 times 3x is 21x again. And 7 times 7 is 49. And adding your two middle terms, 21 plus 21 is 42. So 42x, and then plus 49. So same answer, just different strategies. And the other special product that we're going to look at is a plus b times a minus b. So just like before, you could expand and simplify this expression using FOIL. However, a faster method is to use the special product formula. And truly, this one is much faster than using FOIL. So first, what do you notice about the two binomials that are the same? Well, each binomial has the same term in the same order. So they both have an A, and the A is first, and they both have a B, and the B is second. So they have to have the same terms in the same order. And what do you notice that's different? Well, the sign in front of the second term is different. So one's an addition sign and one's a subtraction sign. So to simplify this special product formula, you can use the formula a squared minus b squared. So a squared is the first term squared. It's always going to be a minus sign. And then b squared is the second term squared. And as I said, truly this formula is much quicker and easier than using FOIL. The first one, strategy, it really is, 6 of one, half dozen of the other, but this one is truly faster if you can recognize the pattern of the binomials, and you can very easily tell. We call the actual answer, this here, we call the difference of squares, which we're going to look at a little bit later, and it truly does make your life much more efficient and quick in terms of solving these questions. So if we're using the formula, we would simply square the first term, and then it's a minus, and then square the second term. So it'd be x squared, and then subtract 9 squared is 81. If you're using FOIL, you would have to, I'm going to write out my brackets again, so x plus 9 and x minus 9. X times x is x squared. X times negative 9 is negative 9x. 9 times x is plus 9x. And 9 times negative 9 is negative 81. So I simplify my middle terms. So negative 9 plus 9x is 0. So that's why those will cancel each other out. And we're left with just negative 81. So it does save us a little bit of work. So that's important. So just like in the previous example, we're going to use both methods just so you have some practice using both. I think that's important. So let's take a look at B. And you don't need to always write this second step here. If you can do this in your head, do it in your head. If you need to show the step, show the step. There's no judgment or shame in doing one way versus the other. So I'm going to square my first term. I'm going to square my second term, and I'm going to subtract them. So it's going to be x squared, subtract, and then 4 squared is 16. Or I can use FOIL. Okay, so FOIL is always a strategy that will work when you are multiplying binomials. So there's nothing else that you need to remember if you want to just remember FOIL. So first terms, x times x is x squared. Outside terms, x times negative 4 is negative 4x. Inside terms, 4 times x is 4x. And last terms, 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. And collect those like terms. Negative 4 plus 4x is 0, so those cancel each other out, and we're left with negative 16. So same answer, different strategy. Let's go through 2 more examples. So I have 3x. I'm going to square that first term, minus, and then my second term is 1, and I'm going to square that. So 3x squared, so 3 squared is 9, so 9x squared. Take away 1 squared, which is 1. Or I can use FOIL. So if you can go, going back to this first method, if you can go right from your question to this final answer, like I said, you can do that. So if you don't need to show this second step, that's fine. You don't need to do that. Okay, so again, we're going to go FOIL. So 3x times 3x is 9x squared. Outside terms, 3x times negative 1 is negative 3x. Inside terms, 1 times 3x is positive 3x. And last terms, 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. Our middle terms will cancel each other out. Negative 3x plus 3x is 0. So we're left with 9x squared, take away 1. So same answer, different method. And one last example. Example D, my first term is 2x. I'm going to square that. My second term is 5. I'm going to square that. There's my minus sign in between. So 2x squared, so 2 squared is 4, so 4x squared. Take away 5 squared, which is 25. And then if I wanted to do the same question, but I'm using FOIL, I can do that as well. 2x times 2x, so my first terms is 4x squared. Outside terms, 2x times positive 5 is positive 10x. Negative 5 times 2x, so my inside terms is negative 10x. And my last terms, negative 5 times 5 is negative 25. My two middle terms will cancel each other out. 10 take away 10 is 0. So I'm left with 4x squared, take away 25. So remember, so in the solution, I want you to note a few things. So in the solution, I want you to note that the first term is square. So I'm always squaring that first term. The middle term is always 0, so we can see how they cancel each other out. So that's why there's only 2 terms left in my solution. So the middle term is always going to be 0 in this case. And the last term is always going to be squared. And it's always negative. And you can see, so this is multiplying. This is an example of when we multiply binomials, where our answer isn't a trinomial, it's actually a binomial. And we call this a difference of squares. So the first term is squared, the second term is squared, the first term is squared, the last term is squared. The middle term is 0, so it disappears, and the last term is always negative. So that's important to remember. If you have any questions about the special products, please post your questions in the discussion board or send me an email.